Hello, everyone. We have about 2 minutes until we begin our Q&A day with UGA, so we'll wait 2 more minutes before we start at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. It is 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome to Question and Answer Day with UGA. Today is Tuesday, April 7th, 2020, and today's daily topics include coronavirus 19, registration, and international students. Hello, my name is Marky Norton. It is a pleasure to meet you all. Thank you so much for joining us on today's call. I am the Assistant Director in the Office of Recruitment and Diversity Initiatives. Before we begin, if you do not have your video chat on mute, I ask that you please turn your chat on mute so that we can avoid any extra noises or distractions throughout the call. There will be certain times where our students, our prospective accepted students, can ask questions, and you'll be able to ask those questions either in the chat or I'll let you know when you can unmute. But until then, if you can place yourself on mute, that would be great. So I just mentioned the Office of Recruitment and Diversity Initiatives. So I want you to know that our office is in charge of promoting excellence in graduate education. And some of that may include recruitment and diversity initiatives with faculty and staff at the University of Georgia, to hosting events, programs, and special workshops to assist our students. Transitioning is a process as a new graduate student. So our office hosts a lot of those events for our students once they reach campus. Before we go forward, I would love to introduce to you some of our team members, and we will start with Lisa. If you can say your name, your position, where you're from, and any other piece of information you'd like to share with our prospective accepted students.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa Sperling. I am the Director of Recruitment and Diversity Initiatives. I am a double dog. I have both the Master's of Public Administration and Doctorate in Student Affairs from the University of Georgia.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And now we'll have my introduction once again. I'm Narky Norton. I have a master's degree from the University of Georgia in Higher Education Administration, finished in December, and I will be pursuing my PhD in education in August of 2020. So whether you are a master's student or doctoral student, I have been through the master's journey and I will go through the doctoral journey with some of you. And I'm originally from Miami, Florida, but up to Georgia when I was about 10 years old. So South Georgia is where I consider home. And last but not least, Dion, if you can introduce your name, your position, where you're from, and also any other piece of information you would like to share.
Hi, my name's Dion. I am a first-year master's student studying public health with a concentration in disaster management. I'm originally from north of Dallas, Texas. So I'm an out-of-state student, and I got my bachelor's degree from Texas A&M.
Thank you so much. Other teammates on our Recruitment and Diversity Initiatives team is Mr. Giovanni Ayala. He is our Associate Director, and also Ms. Whitney Barr, which is one of our other graduate assistants within our office. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Dion, for joining us on the call. Lisa will be joining me in answering some questions later into the presentation, and also Dion will be sharing some perspectives, and also Dion will manage the chat room to make sure we hear any questions that we might have missed. So thank you for being here today. I want to reference, before we get into today's daily topics, the pre-recorded presentation of Acceptance Students Day. All of you should have received the link, and if you remember from that presentation, we did talk about verification of lawful presence, contact your department, financial aid and funding, final admissions information, My ID, health, housing, disability resource center, library resources, parking, transportation, and also student resources. So these were some of the steps. Yes. So please keep in mind that if you have not had a chance to watch the presentation for Acceptance Students Day, it is on YouTube and it's on our useful resources for prospective students page. Just want to make sure I remind you of that. But also we shared these links for the Acceptance Students Day online resources. The Next Steps document talks about pre-arrival and post-arrival checklists for prospective accepted students. We also have a Life in Athens document that gives a lot of resources about Athens, Georgia, within the United States, and different places like restaurants you might want to check out, coffee, where you can get your driver's license or state ID. So that has a lot of information outside of campus that's super helpful for you. But we also wanted to share links on health, housing, libraries, career services, professional development, and also financial aid. So if there are some very deep and specific questions you might have on those subjects, we want to make sure we direct you into the right location to talk to the right people. And speaking of the right people, here are some photos of amazing folks who assisted us in presenting some of the information that you needed a little bit more depth and beyond the pre-recorded Acceptance Students Day video. So Elizabeth shared our library resources presentation. Carrie shared our housing presentation. Bethany, our career center presentation. Christine, our health presentation. Mandy shared our student financial aid information. And also Andrew shared some more professional development resources. All of these PowerPoints were also sent to you in our useful resources for prospective students page. So you should have received both the pre-recorded video for Acceptance Students Day, as well as all of these presentations to dive a little deeper into some of the questions you may have had. And we understand that sometimes it's a little intimidating going to a website and not knowing a person. So we really wanted to show you a picture of each of these amazing people. And you can have a face to a name to an email. So it allows you to be able to reach out without feeling pressure, without feeling you can't get assistance. Any questions related to some of those topics, you can be able to reach out via those emails. And a couple of folks will be joining us in our future Zoom calls. So once again, congratulations, go Dogs. Welcome to the Bulldog Nation. We are super excited to have you. I hope you get used to red and black because those are our colors. If you have ever have a chance to go to a football game, you can. Dion might be able to talk on that a bit. But if not, this place is one of the top 20 best public higher education institutions in the entire country. So we are excited that you are a part of our culture, a part of our institution, and you are what make us feel phenomenal. You are the scholars that we need. So I just want to once again congratulate you on being admitted to UGA, whether you start in the summer or whether you start fall 2020. First things first is a little trivia. I have a trivia question for you today, and it's when did classes start at UGA? So I'm going to launch a poll into our chat, and it says attendees are now viewing questions. So feel free to use the chat to answer what you think are classes started? What year do you believe UGA started classes? We've got about a third of our participants are submitted. We're at almost 50%. Go ahead and click those buttons. And just so you know, the prize is a virtual clap. So we're meeting obviously online, so I will definitely clap for the group that gets the correct answer. All right, and I'm gonna end the poll in a few seconds. So please, if you haven't had a chance to answer, go ahead. So we have a lot of people choosing 1785. I see 48%. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll. You see where the numbers are thus far. So UGA was founded in 1785. However, the year that we began classes was 1801. So only 29% of folks received that. And that's okay if you didn't. That means you learned something new today. Learn something new every day. So 1785 is when we were founded, but it took us a long time to figure out where should we place the University of Georgia, which is why classes didn't actually begin until 1801. And that's why we're the first public higher education institution in the country. So now you know a little bit more about UGA. So Q&A day with UGA Daily Topics. As you know, we are going to go through a few topics today. And before we go through some of these, I want to talk about the format for today. So I'm going to go through some core questions about COVID-19. These core questions come from the questions asked the most by our students who submitted their questions in our Acceptance Students Day online resources form. So we had a lot of questions about some of these main key questions that popped up more than once. And we want to take some time to address it and talk about it. So today's format, Dion is going to assist me, my graduate assistant, and she's going to read each question one at a time. So she's going to read the first question, and then I'm going to answer that first question. And then after I answer that, Dion's going to read the next question. I'll answer that, and we'll follow suit. Okay. Once that's done, you can see on here there are resources to COVID-19 that can keep you up to date. So I want to make sure not only can we answer some core questions that some of you submitted, we want to put some resources and links that you can pay attention to and you can process so that after this presentation, you can still do some more research. So Dion, can you please read the first question?
Yeah. How will COVID-19 affect the summer and fall 2020 classes?
Thank you so much, Dion. So as of this time, we don't have any information on fall. We're hoping that everything will be in normal operations, but we don't have any information in regards to that. We did just receive some information a few days ago that classes will be offered online in the summer. So if you are a student starting summer 2020, classes will be offered online. Thank you so much, Dion.
Okay, next question. Will admissions be reversed due to COVID-19?
Absolutely not. So once again, we are congratulating you because we want you to be at UGA. Admissions will not be reversed. You have been admitted already to UGA. So if you had any fears about this virus affecting your admission, you are already accepted. We just need you to sign the dotted line and start in summer and start in fall. So admission decisions will not be reversed. Next question, Dion.
What advice can help prospective students proceed during a time in such uncertainty?
That is a great question. As you notice, we're all connecting remotely today to talk about some of your questions instead of having our in-person event, but we want to work really hard to address some of your concerns. So Dion, I would love for you to take this question, remind all of our students what your program is, and then if you can talk about some advice that you would like to share to just keep everyone calm and make sure they know how to protect themselves.
Yes, I'm studying disaster management. I'm getting my master's in public health with a concentration in disaster management. So we talk about COVID-19 a lot. There are a couple guidelines that the CDC releases. You can see them on the internet or on your local news. A couple things you can do at home is wash your hands frequently, use soap and water for 20 seconds. If you can't use soap and water, then use hand sanitizer that has at least 60% alcohol in it. Make sure you cover your cough. Make sure you stay at home as much as possible and stay away from large groups. Try to stay away from groups that are more than 10 people. And Make sure you clean and disinfect surfaces often. And if you go to a public place like a grocery store, the CDC is now recommending to cover your face and nose, whether that be a scarf or a handkerchief or something like that. That's what they're recommending.
Thank you so much, Dion. It is a pleasure to have Dion a part of our team. And if you may have not heard some of that information, it's good to hear it again. So we want you to stay safe so that we can see you in the summer and in the fall. Once again, for updates on COVID-19, there's our UGA website. And also the grad school frequently asked questions. We're also giving some updates once the grad school knows any information. So keep checking that as well for information. Next core question will be on registration. So once again, to remind you of our style, we're going to walk through each question one at a time. But a little difference is you can see on our slide, we have registration at current graduate students' perspective. So we definitely want to give you an opportunity, Dion, to share about your experience after we answer some of these core questions. And then we will entertain some live questions on registration. So after you've heard the information we're willing to share, after you've heard Dion talk about what she's experienced, if you have more questions on registration, you'll be able to type those in the chat. Dion, once again, will be watching our chat for us. And then also, if you want to unmute and say a question out loud, we'll also entertain that. So just keep that in mind, but if we can go through the questions first, because you might have gotten the answer before you wrote it. And then after that, we'll hear from Dion and we'll take some live questions. Once again, there are resources at the bottom. So Dion, what is our first question?
What are the registration requirements, deadlines, and dates for summer and fall 2020?
Thank you very much. Great question. So if you are a student who will be signing up for classes in the summer, summer registration is already open. So you would just need to be advised first by your department before you sign up for summer. Fall registration will actually open April 15th. But once again, you have to make sure you meet all those requirements before you're allowed to register. Some of those requirements might be a final transcript, or it may be proof of degree. So make sure you look back to your letter and see what requirements are necessary. Additionally, here's something directly from our website that I definitely want to share with you all. Registration varies in different departments. So we have hundreds of programs for you to study at UGA, which means there may be hundreds of ways that you can go through registration. So I want to read this, and if you have any issues hearing, you can definitely still read the slide. Most departments require that you be advised for courses prior to registering for class. Check in with the department to obtain clearance for registration. Then register online via the Athena online registration system, accessible via MyUGA, using your MyID. Make sure you are aware of your department's policies. Furthermore, it is important that you obtain information about your department's core requirements, if any, and register for those classes that begin to satisfy those requirements. Note, international students must visit the Office of International Education before registering for classes to set up their files and obtain registration clearance. So once again, this is directly from our website, just so you know, and to clarify again, registration will vary depending on the department you're with. So you want to make sure you reach out to your department to see if there are any questions. What's our next question, Dion?
Can I register for classes before my final transcripts are received?
Unfortunately, that is a no. You have to make sure you have your final transcript because it's, once again, a registration requirement. Now, if you are a student that you're finishing your course in May, that means you might need to wait until May or after May before you receive your final transcript. So that is a no. You have to turn in your final transcript first before you are allowed to register for class. How about the next question, Dion?
How do I schedule an academic appointment?
Really good question. So once again, we have hundreds of programs, which means there's a lot of variation. I would recommend you contact your department. If you don't have a major professor just yet, contact your graduate coordinator, look on their website and ask them when you can do virtual appointments. Some might want to do a virtual appointment before you come. Others may wait until you're actually on site. So once again, reach out to your department to ask that question to see what the answer is. Next question, Dion.
How do I know what classes to sign up for?
All right, so that's a good question. For a lot of you, once again, we talk about transition. You're probably wondering what the requirements are. you want to reach out to your department. Once you are advised from someone from your department, they're going to advise you on when the classes are, what classes are best for you to start with. Some of them could be prerequisite classes to take higher level. So the best advice for you is to contact your department in order to find out how to be virtually advised. And then through that virtual advisement, you will know what classes you are supposed to sign up for. So now we're going to shift gears a little bit and we're going to do registration, a current graduate student's perspective. So Dion, I've kind of talked to prospective students about the variation, but as a current graduate student, can you tell us a little bit about what your registration experience was when you came to UGA?
Yes, so again, I'm a master's in public health student, so my experience might be different than yours, just because we're from different departments. But I registered during the summer. So I'm a planner. I love to get things done in advance. So I emailed my graduate coordinator and she set me up with my advisor or my major professor because I only have one option in my department. And so I met with him online, we emailed, and then we had a phone call and he advised me what classes to take and what my schedule would look like. We went over all of that. So I was able to register for classes during the summer. It was either June, late June or July. And that way I could order my textbooks early and make sure I had everything good to go. But I did have some classmates and people in my cohort that registered during the Accepted Students Day in June, and some did it during orientation. A lot of people did the registration during orientation.
Thank you so much, Gian. And as an example, once again, I just finished my master's degree in December. When I was a student, we went to the graduate school orientation in August, and then after that, I was able to meet my department and register for classes. So as you can tell from my experience to Dion's experience, it's gonna depend on your department, so you wanna reach out. Thank you, Dion, for sharing. I really appreciate you giving that perspective. Now we can go into some live questions. Are there questions in the chat that we are seeing thus far?
There is. So one asks, how do I register for courses if I'm unable to mail his or her final transcripts due to the lockdown in India? Because the FedEx services are locked down.
Great question. So thank you for asking that. If you could see at the bottom of our slide, resources on registration, you see right here, contact gradadm at uga.edu. That is our admissions department. And so if you can contact them, the director talked to me and said if there are any questions in regards to delays or through COVID-19, if you email them, they'll let them know your circumstance. They can provide you the next steps of how to proceed. Very good question.
There's another one in the chat. It says, though you can find out what classes you need to take by speaking to an advisor, is there a place online to see class requirements and make sure you're on track, such as a CAPP compliance?
So good question. If you reach out to your graduate coordinator, typically they're going to have a list that shows you, based off the program you select, what classes you want to take or what classes you need to take throughout your graduate education. So if you want a head start to know what the names of those courses and what the type of classes are, if you reach out to your graduate coordinator in your department, you can ask for that list and see if they're willing to share it so that you can get ahead of the game. Very good question.
We have another question in the chat. It says, are we going to have another time to ask questions about COVID-19? Some universities have offered deferred admissions. Will UGA be offering this option?
So very good question. The reason we are sharing our UGA COVID-19 link is to make sure you know where you'll receive the most up-to-date information in regards to COVID-19. So in regards to UGA, we want you to check that website as many times as you need so that you can know sometimes just as much as we do. That place will be the main location for our students to know how things will affect their summer or fall. Once again, summer, we know that there will be online classes. Fall, we have not received any information yet. If you do have further questions beyond COVID-19, or for example, someone asked, how do I turn in my transcripts due to the fact that I'm delayed to turn in this document? So we want to still point you to the right direction. So just as I answered that previous student's question, you would want to contact gradadm uga.edu to try and communicate some of the ways you're being affected by COVID-19 in order to see if there's an extended deadline that might be granted, or to see what the next steps would be for us. Any other questions in the chat?
Yes, there is another question. Okay, it says, my final transcripts for 2 universities were received and recorded in one spot and still show missing in another on my application. Will the grad school clear this automatically with the registrar, or is there something I need to do without having to get my transcripts again?
Lisa, would you like to provide some context on that question?
Sure. So whenever there's any kind of perhaps data discrepancy, the first step is for you to email that link on the bottom where it says contact grad admissions, GRADADM @uga.edu. And they could figure out why one site said you had it complete and one site said you did not.
Thank you, Lisa. Any other questions, Dion, in the chat about registration?
That's it for now.
Okay. Any students have any questions that may want to unmute? All right. If not, and once again, feel free to use our chat. It's a great way so we can see all the questions. Other students might have the same questions you have. So don't be afraid to ask some of those questions as we go through each topic. Before we go to the next section of topics, I just wanted to check if Robin and Ashley are on the call.
I am on the call, Narc.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So now we're going to transition to our next set of core questions. And to remind you once again, you see resources on registration. Our registrar link shows you our summer and fall session will open. Incoming students to-do list will detail the pre and post-arrival checklist. And once again, GRADADM@uga.edu. It's a great place to ask those document-specific questions if you need. So next, we're going to move on to our next set of core questions on international students. So we're going to go through that same process that I discussed before. We'll tackle a few questions at a time, and then we'll have some responses. So Robin, I'm going to have Dion read these top 3 questions for you. And after she reads these 3, I'm going to show a slide to show your wonderful face and also Ashley as well, so that they have your information. And then we'll go back to these questions so you can see them. So Dion, do you mind reading the first 3 questions?
First question is there a deadline to report to the UGA immigration office?
Second question.
So the answer to that is, I'm not sure what you mean by to report. So I'm going to give you 2 answers. If you mean to report to the UGA immigration office to request the visa sponsorship, we actually don't have a deadline, although we keep in mind what the current situation is as far as visa application appointments and how much time it might take you to get the paperwork, get the visa, and come to the US. We like to process the paperwork as early as we can. So of course, now would be our prime period for doing that. But most US embassies are not processing regular visa appointments. You have to have an emergency appointment, and they're not giving out a lot of those. So to report to us to get the visa sponsorship started, you can contact us as soon as you've been admitted and things are in the works. We are still processing paperwork for the fall term, and we are sending it out. We just caution you that we're not sure when the travel restrictions will lift and when the U.S. consulates will be accepting visa appointments. But we want you to have that paperwork in your hands so you're ready to go. The second answer is, if you mean, is there a deadline to report to the immigration office after you've come into the U.S.? There is, and we like you to report to us as soon as you arrive on campus. The deadline is later than that. It's after the start of classes. but we don't like to wait that long. And the report to our office is actually an online process now. You don't have to physically come to the office. You complete an online check-in form, and there's no requirement to come to our office if you don't want to.
Thank you for that answer. The next question, is there a deadline to start the visa documentation procedure?
I've sort of given the answer to that. There's no deadline, but normally we would start the visa documentation process anytime between January and June for the fall term. We are still processing that paperwork, so I encourage you to email us at immigration@uga.edu if you have questions about that. But once you are set to admit status in the system, you will receive an automatic email from our office telling you exactly what to do to request that sponsorship.
And the third question is, will there be any visa delays or enrollment delays due to COVID-19? You kind of touched on this earlier.
Yeah, the answer is unfortunately yes. But the good news is UGA has moved all of their classes to online enrollment. And the other good news is the US government has made extraordinary steps to try to support international students through this. So international students are able to enroll online. There is no in-person requirement, which is very different from what the regulations usually require. For new students, you will need to wait until we start to offer courses in person again, but there may be a way that you can begin your program by enrolling online if UGA allows that. Again, as Narki said, we don't know what's going to happen with the fall term yet. Summer term is wholly online, and if you are in your country and you're eligible to enroll for summer term, you can do that online. The visa delays for coming for the fall term, we just don't know. The difficult part is even if some of the consulates open up in June or July, there may be a backlog of appointments that they have to get through. I would anticipate getting a visa appointment once consulates start to open would likely take anywhere from several weeks to a couple of months. So that may indicate that coming here in time for August would be difficult. I will say in the past, the State Department has tried to prioritize student visa applications, so they might be able to expedite some of them. Again, I hate to say, but we're just going to have to wait and see.
Thank you so much. Regards, once again, Robin is our Director of Immigration Services and Ashley is our Assistant Director. But back to these three questions, I want to pause and it may be time to ask any questions related to what Robin just discussed before we transition to international students. Once again, Robin's office is from the Office of Global Engagement, and the international students' student life is a little separate from that. So are there any questions for Robin, Dion, that you can see in the chat that you can read out loud so that we can get some of those answered or addressed at this time?
There is a question in the chat. It says, if visa appointments resume by May, let's say, is it already a delay or still can we get visa work done? I believe the student is in India, and it says that the U.S. consulate in Mumbai, India has canceled bookings of visa appointments.
Right. So like I said, the process for international students is once you're admitted in the UGA system, you will receive an email from our office telling you what the process is for you to request the I-20 form, which is the document you need to apply for the visa. We are processing that paperwork. So the way we would like to see this go is that you contact us as soon as you can. Once you're admitted, you give us all the information. We issue the I-20 form for you. We mail it to you, and you have it when the consulates open for those visa applications. If they open in June, I would say there's a good chance that you'd be able to get the visa and come to the US by August. If they open the end of July, maybe not. Maybe we're looking at a deferral. But we are processing paperwork as quickly as we can just to get it in your hands so you're prepared for when the consulates open up again.
Any additional questions in the chat, Dion?
There are no other questions in the chat right now.
Thank you so much, Dion, and thank you, Robin, for talking and giving some context about your office and also the process involved. Really appreciate your time discussing some of these.
You're welcome. And can I say too, if students do have follow-up questions, they can email immigration@uga.edu. If they have serious concerns and they can't get through to the email or they can't wait for an answer, they can always call me on my cell phone and I can give that to you to post, but it's 706-202-2546.
Thank you so much, Robin, and thank you for your time, and I hope you have a phenomenal afternoon.
Thank you.
Yes. Dion, are we good to go? No more questions? I think I saw something pop up in the chat.
That was me. I just posted her number, so if anyone needed to contact.
Awesome. Thank you. So thanks to Robin, we've addressed these first three questions that some of us had in regards to the office and also the visa documentation procedure, as well as delays from COVID-19. What's the next question, Dion?
What resources exist to help international students adjust and settle in UGA or at UGA?
Great question. So I'm going to reference you all to isl.uga.edu. It's the International Student Life website. So the International Student Life office is in Student Affairs and it's separate from the graduate school. There are a lot of amazing resources, which is why I took a picture of this website to show you what you can find out if you're an international student. You have questions on US currency, housing tips, roommate tips you might be thinking about, some English opportunities if you want to improve in English, sports, different sports groups, also a lot of cultural clubs. So separate from the list of resources that the International Student Life Office will give you, there are also different programs such as cultural nights celebrating different cultural groups, and also a global buddy person program. So if you want to have a relationship with a US student, that Global Buddy program allows international students to be paired with a US student in order to talk about culture and build friendship. So if you are interested in looking at a lot of the resources and programs offered, I recommend you definitely go to isl.uga.edu, and the website is at the bottom of the slide. So in addition to that, I want to reiterate the International Student Orientation. It is August 9th through August 14th, 2020. It's a week long because as international students, you want a lot of support, you need a lot of information. And some of that will include immigration issues, taxes for non-residents, cross-cultural adjustment, housing assistance, course registration procedures, social security cards, and UGA payroll. So if you want more information about some of these topics, they will be discussed August 9th through 14th, a week long, so that our international students have a smooth process when they come to UGA. Now we're going to move into international students. Xiao, can you unmute? Xiao Li, are you on the call?
Yeah.
Hey, Xiao.
Hi.
So, Xiao's going to talk about a current graduate student's perspective as an international student. So Xiao, can you introduce yourself and what major and where you're from, and then talk about what resources you use to adjust to UGA as an international student?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a second-year master student from College of Engineering. My major is mechanical engineering, and I originate from China. So I think the only problem I have before I came to the United States is like you need to find a place to stay before you came here. So I think the useful advice is you can also looking for some students, they might sublet their apartment by Facebook, or you can book Airbnb, because if you just directly book the apartment, you need to show your passport and everything. Normally they do it in person. You can't just do it online. That means I can't I can't just like find a place to stay if I'm not here, like a permanent apartment or something like that. So it's always helpful if you just ask for some people, like you're from same country and they are already at United States, they always offer the help. Like if you have other question, I suggest you can just connect to your department. They are always pretty helpful and they will tell you what you should do. And another thing is about the drive license. I think if you are undergraduate student, you might have some problem to get a social security number, but you'll still be able to take the test. So what you're gonna do is you need to get a rejection letter from Social Security, that department. And if you have the rejection letter, you're able to take the drive test that you can get your drive license. Yeah.
Thank you, Xiao. And did you join any student groups at UGA to help you with a smooth transition to feel like you're a part of campus? Or did you find any friends that you were able to connect to as an international student?
Yeah, sure. I joined a debate club called Demonstrating Hall. Like UGA has a lot great clubs, and Demonstrating Hall is just located. Demonstrating Literature. Sorry, I made a mistake. Demonstrating Literature Society is located at Demonstrating Hall. So we meet every Thursday from 7 p.m. and we talk about a lot of topics. We also have a lot of parties, and we also like. People will invite you to go to say football games. So I think as an international student, they really helped me a lot. And that's also where I met Narki and a lot of other friends. And that's really helpful. I think you can literally just Google or ask other students about like what club you're interested in. And everyone is super friendly here. I'm sure you can find your group. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Xiao, very much for sharing. Now we're going to shift to live questions on international students. So Xiao, you can go ahead and mute.
I think,
yeah.
Okay. Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Thank you so much, Xiao.
Thank you.
I'm gonna put you on mute, or if you can put yourself on mute, but stay tuned. If there could be an international student that might have a question that maybe you can answer, but I'll let you know when to chime in. Dion, do we have any questions in the chat about international students?
There are no further questions right now.
Okay. And just to kind of piggyback off of what Robin said, if you have detailed questions on international student life, go to the isl.uga.edu site. Once again, they do a phenomenal job at going through a lot of resources and assistance. Xiao also talked about contacting your department. So your department is no stranger to hosting international students. So they typically are going to know some of the things you may want to have questions that you need answered. That's going to be a great place to start because they typically have had international students. So it's not a bad idea to ask them as well on some help. And once again, the Immigration Services link is also listed under resources on international students. So please keep that in mind. Okay, so this actually concludes today's Q&A day with UGA. Robin, thank you again for coming on our call. I shared Robin's slide and her position as well as Ashley's. And Robin also shared her cell phone number for students. As a reminder, this call is recorded, so we will download it and we're going to hope to upload this video to assist you. Maybe there was something you didn't remember from a question you asked, or maybe there was something on the slide that you might have been interested in. We're going to download the video and make sure you can access it in the next couple of weeks. And also for students who may have not made the call, you will be able to access this information. Robin, did you want to chime in and say anything? I see you are muted.
I just wanted to try to reassure the students it is a time of uncertainty, but we usually plan our sponsorships anywhere from 4 to 6 months in the future. And I'm sure that once this is passed, we will have learned some good lessons, and we will again be welcoming international students on campus.
Thank you, Robin, and please keep that in mind. Once again, we are so excited to have you, and we don't want you to worry. We want to provide as many resources and as much information as we can to assist you. before you reach campus. So thank you again, Robin, for sharing. Lisa, would you like to say anything before we conclude? Or Dion, just want to make sure, and while Lisa might pop up, we do have our Facebook here, our Instagram, and our Twitter, Grad Studies, UGA Grad Studies. That also Recruit, GRECRUIT@uga.edu is our email for questions. So please don't hesitate to send us some questions if you have some more, but we want to do what we can to assist you as best we can.
I just wanted to say thank you all for tuning in, and we are so excited, and keep bringing us your questions. Nargi, Dion, you did a wonderful job. A huge thanks and shout out to Robin Katmer for being our guest speaker today and answering questions on immigration. And thank you all. I hope you decide to tune into tomorrow's webinar.
Yes. Yes, tomorrow's webinar will be about financial aid funding via assistantships and also University Health Center. So for those who already selected it, you should have received the Zoom invitation for tomorrow. If we see you then, thank you for your time wherever you are, both international and domestic, whether in-state or out-of-state. You are part of UGA, and we're so excited to welcome you. Have a great day. Thank you, everyone, for being on today's call. Once again, we will share the recording, and that is all we have for today. So enjoy the rest of your day. Some of you are in the morning right now, some of you are in the evening. Have a great day, and once again, congratulations on being admitted to the University of Georgia. And I will stay on if there are any questions that some students might have. You can use the chat. Dion will be here as well, and Lisa. So if you just have some questions that may have popped up towards the end of this presentation, we'll try and answer that. So we'll give a few minutes to just look at our chat to see what might have popped up that you might want to ask now. Dion, do you see anything?
No, not right now.
All right.
A lot of thank yous, so that's good.
Wonderful. So I'm stopping the recording. Have a great day.